You sit down in the soft, worn leather chair across from me, your hands nervously twisting in your lap. The room is quiet except for the faint ticking of the clock on the wall. You've come here many times before, but today feels different. Today, you want to say what you've never quite been able to express. The emptiness that feels like a hollow cavern inside you, a silent pain no one seems to notice. You try to put it into words. I feel alone, you say, your voice barely above a whisper. Not just lonely like missing friends or family, but this deeper kind of alone, like there's a wall between me and everyone else, like my soul is isolated, even when I'm in a room full of people. I nod slowly, inviting you to keep going. That's exactly what I hear. I say gently, you're describing something we call existential isolation. It's the idea that no matter how close we get to others, there's a fundamental part of us that remains unreachable, alone. It's part of the human condition. Even the most connected people carry this hidden solitude. You look at me, surprised. You expected judgment or at least confusion, but instead, there's understanding. So I'm not broken? You ask hesitantly. Not broken. I assure you, this is what philosophers and therapists have grappled with for centuries. Irvin Yalom, a psychiatrist who's written extensively on this, says existential isolation is one of the 4 ultimate concerns of human life. The silent pain we all face, but few admit to. It's the feeling that your inner world is locked behind a door only you hold a key to. You lean back, processing this. But how do I live with that? How do I stop feeling so cut off? That's the journey we begin here. I reply, the first step is naming the pain, as you just did. You've taken a brave step by saying out loud. Often, we suffer because we think no one else can understand, or that it's shameful to feel so isolated. You nod, eyes moistening. I've spent so long pretending, smiling on the outside while feeling like a ghost inside. That pretending creates more walls. I explain, but here, in this space, we try to peel those walls away. Your willingness to be vulnerable is the first thread connecting you back to others, starting with me. You swallow hard. But even here, sometimes I feel like you can't really know me. That's true, I say softly. No one can fully enter your inner world. But through honest conversation, shared moments, and empathy, we can bridge the gap. Think of this relationship as a fragile bridge over that canyon of loneliness. It won't erase the isolation completely, but it can carry you to a place where you feel less alone in it. You breathe out slowly. It's scary, though, facing that canyon instead of running from it. Yes, it's frightening. I agree. Existential concerns like isolation demand courage. Yalom describes therapy as a dance, where therapists and client confront these fears together. It's a process, sometimes uncomfortable, but ultimately freeing. You glance around the room, then back at me. I don't want to suffer in silence anymore. That's why you're here, I say warmly, to break the silence, to find connection that heals the isolation of your soul. And remember, you don't have to do this alone. You nod, a faint glimmer of hope in your eyes. Maybe this is the start of something different. I smile gently. It is, and we'll take it one step at a time. You walk into the room, still carrying the weight of loneliness from your last session. But today, something feels different. The chair doesn't feel so cold. The air is warmer, somehow more inviting. As you settle into your seat, you notice the way I'm watching you, not as a distant professional, but as someone genuinely present. You remember how, at first, therapy felt like a one-sided conversation, a monologue you performed for an unresponsive audience. But now, over weeks and months, you've begun to sense a shift. This room, this time we share, has become a sanctuary, a place where your voice matters, where your fears and hopes are met with understanding instead of judgment. You speak about the darkness that used to swallow you whole, the crushing sense that no one could ever truly see or know you. And I listen, not just to your words, but to the silences in between, the tremble in your voice, the guarded glance. I respond with presence, with empathy, with a human connection that goes beyond clinical detachment. It's in this relational space that something begins to change. The invisible walls around your soul start to crack. You realize that the therapy relationship isn't just about techniques or diagnoses. It's about connection. As Irvin Yalom taught us, the relationship itself is the agent of change. It's the here and now encounter where healing happens. You recall reading about Donald Winnicott's concept of the holding environment, and you recognize that this room is exactly that. A safe container that holds your pain without judgment, a place where your fragmented self can begin to reassemble. Sometimes you feel scared to open up fully, afraid of being rejected, misunderstood, or abandoned. But each time you take the risk, you find that you're met with acceptance. That acceptance feels like a balm, soothing the raw edges of your isolation. You start to notice that the feeling of being utterly alone diminishes just a little after each session. You begin to carry a small piece of this connection with you, a secret lifeline woven from shared vulnerability and trust. You wonder aloud if this connection could be the antidote to the profound solitude you've carried for so long. I nod, affirming that many have found that the relational healing in therapy can ripple outward, changing how they engage with the world. You realize that this relationship isn't just professional, it's deeply human. It challenges the isolation by reminding you that you are seen, heard, and valued. The sanctuary of therapy doesn't erase your loneliness overnight, but offers a place to rest, to be known, and to start rebuilding your sense of belonging. It becomes a model for how other relationships might one day feel, genuine, accepting, and healing. As you leave the room today, you carry with you a fragile but growing hope. That connection, even in its simplest form, can heal the deepest wounds of the soul. You sit in the chair, eyes fixed on a small spot on the carpet, the words heavy on your mind. Why does everything feel so meaningless sometimes? You ask, your voice low and uncertain. Like I'm trapped between fears I can't escape. The fear of dying, of being alone, of making the wrong choices. I nod, recognizing the profound weight in your question. These are not just passing worries. They're what Irvin Yalom calls the ultimate concerns: death, freedom, meaninglessness, and isolation, the inescapable realities that define the human experience. You breathe in deeply, feeling exposed yet somehow relieved to speak the unspeakable. I try to ignore these thoughts, but they keep creeping back. I feel paralyzed by the freedom to choose, scared by the responsibility to give my life meaning, haunted by the loneliness that won't let go. Together, we step into this difficult terrain. Therapy is not about offering easy answers or quick fixes. Instead, it's about courageously facing these fears side by side, holding in the light rather than hiding in the shadows. I remind you that you are not alone in this struggle. Many before you have wrestled with the same questions. Yalom suggests that acknowledging these fears openly within a trusting relationship can lessen their grip. You talk about the fear of death, not just physical death, but the symbolic endings that life demands, the loss of roles, identities, and dreams. I'm scared of what it means to let go. You confess. I invite you to explore what it might feel like to accept mortality as part of life. When we face death together in therapy, it can transform from a terrifying threat to a motivator for authentic living. I explain. The awareness of our finitude can inspire us to cherish moments and choose how we want to exist. Then we turn to freedom and responsibility. You admit how overwhelming it feels to realize that your life is shaped by your choices, no one else's. Sometimes I wish someone else would decide for me, you say softly. I gently challenge this, emphasizing that with freedom comes empowerment. Freedom means you have the opportunity to create meaning, to define your path, even if it's scary. And here, you have support to navigate those choices. The conversation moves to meaninglessness, the void that sometimes yawns beneath your feet. You describe moments when life feels pointless, and you question why to keep going. I share how existential therapy helps uncover or create personal meaning, even in suffering. Meaning isn't given, it's found or made. Together, we can explore what matters to you, what gives your life purpose, however small or big. Finally, we return to isolation, the silent companion in all these concerns. You acknowledge how it can feel unbearable, the thought that no one truly knows your inner world. But here, in this room, you experience connection. The relational bond challenges isolation's power, reminding you that though solitude is part of life, it doesn't have to be suffering alone. As the session ends, you feel a mix of exhaustion and relief. Facing these ultimate concerns is no easy task, but the journey is less lonely now. Together, we've begun to shed light on the shadows that held you captive. You leave with a fragile hope that confronting life's deepest fears, supported by connection, can open a path toward freedom, meaning, and healing. You settle into a familiar chair, the weight of past sessions still lingering in your mind. Today, there's a restlessness within you, a yearning to be seen, truly seen, beyond the masks you wear. You start hesitantly. I don't know who I really am beneath all this pretending. I meet your gaze warmly. That's a powerful realization. I say, in therapy, this is the beginning of a journey from alienation to authenticity. Irvin Yalom talks about this process, how the self can be fragmented by fear and isolation, but can heal through honest self-revelation. You nod, uncertain but curious. I've spent so long feeling disconnected from myself, from others. It's like I'm playing a role that doesn't fit. Exactly, I affirm. That role is often a shield against vulnerability, but it can also deepen the soul's isolation. Here, we create a space where you can begin to drop the mask safely. You take a deep breath and start to share memories and feelings you've long buried. The shame, the doubts, the small joys you never allowed yourself to embrace. Each revelation feels like a crack in the wall you've built around your soul. As you speak, I reflect back what I hear, helping you connect the fragments of your experience. This mirroring fosters awareness and integration, a process psychoanalyst Carl Rogers called congruence. You notice moments when your true feelings break through unfiltered, and for a brief instant, you feel whole. It's scary to be this exposed, you admit, but also freeing. I remind you that authenticity is not a destination, but an ongoing process. Each session is a chance to practice being yourself, to accept your imperfections and contradictions without judgment. We explore how this emerging authenticity can gradually replace feelings of alienation with connection to yourself and to others. The path is neither straight nor easy, but with each step, your soul feels a little less isolated. You leave today with a newfound sense of hope that the journey inward, though daunting, can lead to healing and genuine connection. You enter the room carrying the familiar weight of loneliness, but today, something feels different. As you sit down, you notice the genuine warmth of my eyes, not just professional concern, but real empathy. It's a feeling you've come to recognize as rare and precious. You speak hesitantly about your isolation, the unbridgeable gap between you and others. Sometimes I wonder if anyone can really understand what I'm going through. You confess. I lean in slightly, my voice steady and calm. Empathy is the bridge we build between your world and mine. It's how we meet across that divide, not by erasing your experience, but by truly witnessing it. You reflect on this, realizing how often in life people have heard your words but missed the deeper meaning beneath them. Here, for the first time, you feel seen not just for what you say, but for who you are. I explain how empathy isn't just a feeling, but an active process. It's a commitment to enter your experience without judgment, to hold space for your pain and your strength. This mutual engagement transforms the therapeutic relationship from a one-sided interaction into a shared human experience. Drawing from relational psychoanalysis and thinkers like Stephen Mitchell, I describe how mutuality, the sense that both therapist and client are authentic, vulnerable participants, creates a safe container where healing begins. You recall moments when you hesitated to share your deepest fears, worried you'd be misunderstood or rejected. But here, that fear softens, replaced by trust. This trust, you realize, is built on empathy and mutuality. You begin to understand that while isolation is part of being human, empathy offers a lifeline. It reminds you that connection is possible, that you are not alone in your suffering. As the session closes, you carry with you the fragile but powerful knowledge that healing happens in relationship, that empathy and mutuality can bridge the vast divides that once seemed insurmountable. You rise from the chair, the session drawing to a close, yet a quiet energy stirs within you. For the first time in a long while, you sense that the isolation you once carried might not be permanent. The connection we built here has begun to transform something deep inside. You reflect on how the therapeutic relationship has been a sanctuary, a place where you could explore your fears, face your loneliness, and begin to reclaim your authentic self. But now, the question arises, how do you take this newfound healing beyond these walls? You admit your fears. What if I go back to my old patterns? What the world outside is too harsh, and I lose this connection? I nod with understanding. It's natural to worry about that. But the goal of therapy is not just to provide a temporary refuge. It's to empower you to carry what you've learned into your everyday life, to create new, authentic connections that nourish your soul. You think about the relationships in your life, some fractured, others distant. You realize that through therapy, you've learned new ways of relating, to be more open, more vulnerable, more present. These are tools that can help rebuild bridges once thought irreparable. Drawing on Yalom's teachings, I explain how the healing power of the therapeutic relationship can ripple outward. The experience of being truly seen and accepted gives you a model for how to engage with others without fear or pretense. You start imagining conversations where you don't hide behind defenses, moments where you allow yourself to be known without shame. This is not a sudden transformation, but a gradual unfolding. You acknowledge that setbacks will come, old fears, isolation, and doubts may try to resurface. But now, you have something stronger, the experience of connection and the courage to face those challenges. I remind you that carrying connection beyond therapy also means cultivating self-compassion and patience. Healing is a process, and you are not alone on this path. As you step out of the office and back into the world, you carry with you a quiet but resilient hope that the isolation of the soul can be healed through relationship, and that you have the strength to build a life rich with authentic connection. If this message resonated with you, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell so you never miss a new video. Share your thoughts or experiences in the comments below. Your story might inspire someone else. Remember, healing begins with connection, and we're in this journey together. Stay connected, stay curious, and I'll see you in the next video.